The following video was recorded on location in my state-of-the-art office in the corner of my first floor apartment. If you like what you're about to hear, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell in the upper right corner.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for taking time to do this interview.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, of course, we're here to talk about the brand new album from Origin, Unparalleled Universe, which came out last week through Nuclear Blast. The last time I had the chance to be able to talk to you was in Minneapolis a few years back for Summer Slaughter, and I think I got to ask you about two questions before someone who was heavily under the influence of alcohol decided to take over the interview.
Oh, I totally remember that one. Yeah, I remember that. Outside, and it was just a maniac that just joined in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So unless you found out my address and knew about this interview, I should be able to get to talk to you about everything that's going on with Origin nowadays.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, cool. Well, of course, this is your second album with Origin. How are you feeling about your role in the band with the second album?
I mean, the one great thing about joining these guys is I know, when a lot of times you hear the story that, somebody joins up with a band and they go through the process of being the new guy and doesn't necessarily get to make decisions or weigh in. They're just kind of pushed to the side and let the veterans make all the big decisions for things. But no, the dudes in Origin's credit, that was never from day one treated that way. It was always, the respect and courtesy of equal membership throughout, and it's been great since then. I feel like we've grown. I mean, while it may have been an adjustment period to learn about each other's, idiosyncrasies and quirks or whatever, but we've definitely, from the recording of the first album to this one, grown into a tightly honed machine that, our time in the studio for Unparalleled Universe was, we were ahead of schedule getting it done. Everybody was on point, and it was a little bit of a different way it played out than the Omnipresent recordings, but still from the beginning, it's always been killer,
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that too. I'm glad there isn't like that seniority thing where someone feels like they have to be in control of everything, rather than, just making sure that everyone in the band does their role and has equal say.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, everybody's got their own personality in it. Some are more like I even came in as a new guy, and I tend to be a little overbearing on details and getting things done and stuff. While some of the other dudes have been, it's been their band for longer, so they're like a little more laid back on things. It's just an individual personality thing. Like sometimes I need to step back and be like, oh, I got to calm down. Like I don't need to try to be in control of this whole scenario.
So with that, how have things changed for you the most between both albums?
I mean, I feel like they've been just a natural progression as far as writing wise. I know the response for the new one is light years beyond what it was for the last one, which is surprising. I love Omnipresent, and it got a little flack in the beginning for being a departure from an expected Origin sound a little bit, while still holding on to all like the major elements. And a lot of people kind of weren't as stoked on it at first, but it's definitely an album that I've noticed over the past 3 years since it's been out that, every time we're out somewhere, somebody, a couple of people will come up to us and be like, I didn't like that album at first, but it grew on. It was like a slow burn that grew on me, and now it's one of my favorites. Like, not an uncommon thing for us to hear, but right off the bat, the response to Unparalleled Universe has been amazing, and people love it. People, harken it back to being like, oh, it's back to the Informist sound or this or that, and we didn't really do anything with that particularly in mind. It's just we write how we feel at the time. Paul never really wants to write the same album over and over again. Like, if we did one fastest album in the world, we already got that. If you want to hear it again, go listen. We got new stuff, So I feel like the progression has been a pretty easy flow. So
yeah, and that's what I've always appreciated about Origin, especially since you've been a part of the band, is that you guys don't write the same album. Because, in this style, it is so easy to just practicing the fretboard work and only focusing on that or playing as fast as possible. But you guys actually go out there and write very diverse of songs for the style, and that's really needed.
Yeah, I mean, there's bands that's their bread and butter, like your Amon Amarth types, and I don't know, I would even go as far as, say, the Cannibal Corpses and stuff like that, and that's because they get pigeonholed in their one style, and they pound it out over and over again because they know it'll sell. And no, not to their discredit or anything like that, because it's usually always pretty good. It's just not there's just not a whole lot of experimenting. But yeah, we've never had really that tether, never had that like explicit expectation, except that people expect us to be, I don't know, the whole space technical, grind shit. And people, I think, more expect individual members' style of like Paul, Mike, and John, rather than an overall song style from us or album style from us. They expect John to do crazy blast beats, and they expect Paul to do crazy sweep stuff, and Mike to do whatever the hell Mike's doing all the time that nobody can ever pin down. So as long as that's there, which it always is, because we don't know any other way, it seems like people are happy.
So with that, do you ever feel like that you're forced to have to write in a certain style, or are you just comfortable with what you do in Origin?
I mean, I do what I do. I don't try to be James, who is in the band now. I mean, he's in the band now, I think, less albums. He was on less albums than he wasn't on now. So he's hasn't been in the band for almost 10 years. But, you still have your purists that are all about Antithesis and those albums, and which is, I mean, I can see why. But I don't try to do that. And I don't really feel like I have to do any specific thing. I write what I feel comes into the music, and we definitely put in a distinct effort to have like Paul write at least one of the songs like vocally and lyrically on each of the albums. Like I would like for him to do more. I mean, it's less work for me, and it's also, it changes things up in the style. And but it's been like one on each, and I feel like that mixes things up. And I try to keep up, but those guys are just some of the stuff they give me is just like, what do you expect me to do with this? This is too fast. Like I came from a background of being endless years and years and years ago, and that was all very simple, moshy, like that's easy as hell to write to. Some of these riffs they give me, I've just slapped my forehead and get to work.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of instances in this album in particular where it's like I'm trying to figure out how you were even able to comprehend coming up with vocal patterns for it, and you just pulled it off with so much justice behind it.
Not sure. Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes you just I also, same as I was talking about before, where I have a problem of trying to be in control of everything. I have a problem of overthinking of writing. So some of the parts that are just maniacal and musically, you just gotta let go. You gotta let go, man, and like not even think about it. Do the first thing that comes in your head, and that's usually the best. Really, one of the songs on Omnipresent, I know, the track 2, which is like one of the fastest songs Origin I think ever has, that Brawl Folkum Apex song, was, he wrote it, the way we were getting into the studio, I didn't get to write that song until the day of recording it, and it's one of my favorite songs I've ever done.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorites from the album as well. I mean, I love what you're able to accomplish with that, and, just getting back again into Unparalleled Universe, I mean, it really feels like everything is so comfortable in the band, and when you're writing this style of music, I mean, there is so much like chaos that's going on there, but it just feels so natural for all of you guys.
Yeah, I think we definitely work together very, very well, and like we've been kind of promoting for this album, is that, it's the first time Origins had the same lineup 2 albums in a row in its like entire history out of 7 albums in an EP, so it's like a cute little milestone for us. And I mean, it's there for a reason, because we get along fluidly.
And with that, I mean, with this being your second album, how did you go about things when it came to the songs that you wrote the lyrics for? I mean, did you have like anything in mind, or did you wait until the songs had more riffs before you came up with anything?
I tend to wait until like Paul comes up with the skeleton structure and all the riffs for the songs first, and then he works with John, and my part usually comes last. I don't even really like jumping in until I have something to work with, because they're always changing. They will change stuff on a dime. They'll change whole riffs and sections in the studio. So I usually have to wait until the very end, or else the rug will be pulled out from under me. It's just how we work, and it's fine for me. But in particular, for when we did Omnipresent, that was like a thought out front to back like story arc. That's our space death metal rock opera. But this one is definitely much more individualized songs with their own individual backgrounds for whatever they're about, and it's whatever nerdy shit I'm into at the time, and it has some space element, so unfortunately I wish I had a better answer of depth with depth in it, but nah, it's just whatever kind of geek shit I dig.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I love those 2 opposing styles. Like Omnipresent is just just like you said, it is just like this great tech death metal rock opera that's going on. And with Unparalleled Universe, it's nice to have like every song be its own story. It's nice to have those kind of ideals and being able to just write the lyrics that you want to write for a band.
And I feel like the lyricists for death metal, it's something that I've lately thinking about how underappreciated an amazing like art form in itself is, because it's this genre of music that based on like the better a band you are, you're a better band, the more indecipherable your vocals are in this kind of music. For black metal too, like same kind of thing. However, it's like your vocals are used more as an instrument than to convey a message. And but it's ironically a genre of music where vocalists and lyricists spend so much time and put so much passion and thought into their writing. Like, it's not all just, kill your mother, rape your dog, and, all this stuff like Cattle Decapitation has, like, amazing lyrics. Bands like Archspire and stuff do, a mile a minute, vocals, but, the lyrics are killer. But it's this secret world of, if so few people take the time to actually delve into the lyrics and delve into the meaning, because they're so caught up in music. And it's like a club. It's like a brilliant work of graffiti in an abandoned subway tunnel that nobody knows about. Like, it's there and it's gorgeous, but only like the bravest souls venture down to even look at it, and it's a really beautiful thing. And maybe I just say that because I'm the singer and writer of this stuff too, so I like to over-grandiose it. But yeah, that's something I've been thinking about lately, how lyricists in death metal need definitely more recognition.
Oh, without question. I mean, there's so many genres of music out there that always just focus on the same thing, and it's always that very hyper-positive, partying, boozing, sex, drugs, that kind of stuff, just always about having a good time, rather than, like exploring space, or history, or horror themes, or whatever the case is. And with death metal, there are so many different ventures that you could go down with the lyrical content that no matter what you're into in your personal life, you'll be able to find a band that matches that style that you're into.
Yeah, sure. And on top of it, death metal and black metal, any kind of extreme metal, has always been about escapism. It's always been about, you listen to it to get away from the actual world you're in. And that's, what, at least for me, that's what I grew up with, just to not have to listen to a song and hear about somebody else's stupid relationship or, partying or, or having a good time. I didn't want to have a good time. I wanted to pretend like I was doing some insane, otherworldly, evil space murder shit or whatever. And so it's an escapist thing on top of it. So you can build world, you can craft whatever you want, or any kind of philosophy or anything. And nobody wants to hear about somebody seeing their ex-girlfriend driving down the street or some shit,
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that in death metal, if there is a band that would ever venture into that broken relationship death metal.
I feel like that's the whole, like, Avenged Sevenfold type stuff. Like, I never listened to them, but that's what I assume they do. Or even, like, I think Suicide Silence used to do that. Like, all that death, like, light, neck tattoo, deathcore type stuff is all borderline, like, you broke my heart, like dumb stuff. But again, not to their discredit, they sell more records than us, so I'm not gonna worry about it.
But with that said, though, I mean, it's great to be in a position where you get to have a band with notoriety, write the music that you want to play, write the lyrics that you want to write, and being able to tour and have a fan base that wants to come out and see you every tour.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I don't wake up and am dumbfounded at even being like a D level or C level, in the scheme of things, kind of band. To be a band that makes any money on the road is like the 1%, you know what I mean? There's so many bands struggling and going out, and, they have real lives and real jobs and families and only tour once a year, and that hurts them. But if they do it for the experience, we're road dogs. We've been doing this for forever. Like, this is our job at this point at some level. And yeah, it's great. It blows my mind. We're all still super humble about it. We're all still amazed when we see somebody with a tattoo of the new album or whatever, or somebody that just really is inspired or humbled by our presence. We're just like, whoa, we're just bored, drunk idiots. Like, but people dig it, and it's the best feeling in the world. Good work if you can get it, honestly.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, you get to go on that venture in 20 days once again throughout North America with Summer Slaughter.
Yeah, this is I think it's the third time doing Summer Slaughter for Origin. Technically the fourth, because they were on like the originally that had like Vader as headliner wave. But before it was the Summer Slaughter tour. It was something else. But yeah, it's my second time with it, and it's great how it's blown up and been so popular. It's the concept itself. I remember when I sang for Skinless, we got offered the first incarnation of it back in 2008 or 7 or something like that, with Necrophagus headlining, and I think when we turned it down, Skinless turned it down because our first thought was just like, what an insane idea. 9 extreme metal band touring together like that. How will anybody get drunk? There's too many people to care. This is ridiculous. And we turned it down. It was like the dumbest thing we ever did. But we did it in 2014 when I was with Origin, and it couldn't have been smoother. We were all amazed. They'd done it in 2009 and had their issues, but in 2014, all the bands got along. Everybody was cool. Changeovers were easy. Every show was killer, and we had a blast. So we're looking forward to going back again. It's always nice to have a guarantee of like 1,000 people a night is a good feeling. Being like an underground band, some bands get to do that arena shit. We don't get to do that. So it's always nice to know there'll be more than 20 people in the crowd.
And speaking of that, when you were able to do it for the first time in 2014, did you have any of those apprehensions about doing the tour, or did you just see the success of it and were immediately on board to do it?
It's from a like a marketing and a business perspective, it's a thing to do, because then you see it everywhere. People promote the hell out of it. Just having your name on the flyer will get. You got to think of it in the way of there's 10 bands, each maybe every two or three of them will have the same crowd, and then 2 or 3 different bands will have their own crowd. 2 or 3 different bands will have their own crowd together. So you get all of their markets. Will check you out to see who they're going to go see when they come to see you, and then the other way around. All the other bands get. We don't have the same crowd as like Betraying the Martyrs or Lorna Shore or whatever, but their kids will come out and be like, oh, who's this band? And hopefully they'll dig it, And the other way around, I don't know if it really works that way. That works backwards, but yeah. So I mean, it's great. I think when we did it the first time, it was us and Decrepit Birth and Goat Whore and Dying Fetus, and it was like all our friends' bands we were really into and respected. So we knew we were going to have a good time. We totally did. It couldn't have been better for us.
Yeah, I mean, back in 2014, it was such a solid bill from start to finish, and this time around, there's some very solid bands that are going on tour together again. It's great to see like Dying Fetus is going back on there, and the Faceless, and it's just like it's a great representation of all the different styles of extreme metal, and like you said, there's a little bit of something for everybody in the extreme metal world, and hopefully that does open up the doors. Like if you're just into one style, you'll be able to appreciate another style that you're not as familiar with.
Yeah, sure. And I say it from my perspective of being like more into the more brutal stuff. I'm old. I don't know what the kids listen to these days, so maybe I'm being a little like cranky old man, assuming that we would steal their fans. But I'm sure people will be shocked by some of the other bands. I don't even know them yet. I'll probably be shocked. And it goes. Everybody wins out, and you get a kid that comes with like still rocking like a bang hanger and wearing eyeshadow or whatever those do, and sees Dying Fetus and it turns into a brutal death metal kid overnight. Everybody back in the. When you were growing up and you're listening, everybody needed somebody to show them to not listen to like Limp Bizkit. Like you felt Limp Bizkit was the hardest shit because you didn't know any better. And then you have like a cool cousin who's like, no, listen to Cannibals, and it changes your life. Like I feel like that's what Summer Slaughter's prime purpose is.
It's funny because that exactly happened to me. When I was growing up, my brother was my only source of music growing up, and he was a huge fan of like Korn and Limp Bizkit and things like that. And there was parts of it I liked, but I couldn't really get into it. But once I discovered more heavier music, that's what I really got inclined to.
Sure, and like nobody can be expected to just be so cool. They're just going to discover shit on their own. Everybody needs that boost. Like I was lucky when I was really young. I had older brothers like Joe, who ended up starting Skinless and stuff like that. And yeah, I think the first record I actually got into was I stole like an LP of the first Guar album from one of them and rocked that. And then that circumvented me getting into like stuff now that I look back and be like, man, I'm so glad I was never like super into, whoever, I don't know, Limp Bizkit, use that again.
So, in speaking of that, and of course being able to go on tour with the Summer Slaughter Festival and being able to represent the new album, how much of the new album is going to be represented in the live set?
It's tough because we only have, a 30-minute set, I think. So we have to like cram in as much as we can as everything. And having 7 albums now to pull from, like it's a problem when you have an hour-long set to pick songs you want to do. just to fit in the time, because they have so many like classic heavy hitter tracks, but you have to play the new stuff because that's what you're promoting at the time, and plus you just want to because it's fresh. So I'm sure we'll definitely have at least 2 or 3, maybe some of the, we're not going to play the 9-minute epic track, obviously, but some of the punchier ones, I'm sure will make their way in. Maybe the ones that have been like advertised already online, or ones people might be familiar with already just from YouTube.
And speaking of that, with you guys having about a 30-minute set this time around, how is that for you guys doing a 30-minute set? Does that feel casual to you guys? Do you feel like you need to play longer? Is that just long enough? How does that go for you guys?
I mean, it comes with the territory. You play festivals. Sometimes you got to do 30 minutes. Sometimes it's just a part of the business. And I mean, honestly, when we first saw, we were a little grumpy that we're 5 out of 10 in the whole lineup, and I think we were 5 out of 10 in 2014. So we were a little like, why aren't we higher up? Like, bummed out about it. But at the end of the day, like, it's a bot right in the middle. We playing for a half hour is an easy day for us. Like, being done by 6:30, and we can kick back and relax and watch Dying Fetus every night. Like, who wouldn't be stoked about that? That's fantastic. Like, why would you want to work harder and not smarter?
Yeah, exactly. And for a lot of people who don't want to necessarily go to the show early, I mean, they'll be coming in right as you guys are playing, and that's like opportune because they might not know what to expect.
Sure, I mean, one can only hope. It sucks because you never want to see bands play to empty rooms, but from my experience with Summer Slaughter from 2014, I remember the opening band on that was this band called Won a Contest or whatever, and I don't think maybe one set of that entire tour they played to less than like 150 people. Like, people are dedicated to going to this tour, so I think we'll be fine. I think all the bands will be fine, and everybody kills it on merch, and everybody brings their like best shit, and everybody's fans and bands alike walk away from it happy every night.
Oh yeah, and I'm one of those fans too. Like, whenever I have the opportunity to go to Summer Slaughter, I want to make sure I check out every band, even if I'm not familiar with the band, because I might be turned on to a new style of music or a new band that I hadn't previously known. And unless I'm doing interviews like the one that we tried to do a few years back, it's like I always just want to go out there and be able to promote the bands that are part of this. And it's great to see something like Summer Slaughter being able to take the chance to represent all these different styles of extreme metal and open everything to a new audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know last year Summer Slaughter was the lineup was amazing. It was like all the best death metal bands for the whole day. I don't think the only thing that was like slightly different was like Carnifex, I guess. But even that, they're still like a brutal death metal band, but they just kind of got a different perception. But it was front to back death metal, and that maybe I'm again dating myself, old man, but you want to change it up every once in a while. You want to hear death metal for 12 straight hours. That's why even like when we did in 2014, I'd be stoked that like, oh good, Die Artist Murder is coming on, so it doesn't have to be super brutal all of a sudden, or whatever other like Fallujah, I can kind of like chill. It's like kind of chill, you can relax to it.
Oh, definitely. So after Summer Slaughter, what is the plan for Origin?
We obviously are going to go hard with this new album. The touring cycle begins again, and we are already working. We already have a headliner ready to go for October that we can't. We're not going to announce just yet.
Yeah.
I think the bands will be announced soon, but not the dates. And and then ideally we're just going to keep going as much as we can. I think we have in mind another tour for February, March, and then hit Europe. We already have Inferno Festival in Norway booked, and this Royal Metal Fest in Denmark is already booked. And then I think after we've done, if we've done those 3 U.S. tours in a row before going to Europe, we can concentrate on just doing crazy shit in weird places next year. Like, I want to go to, bands are starting to go to India. I want to go to hit that market. Like, South America, South Africa. I want to go to weird spots. So my job is convincing the rest of the band to go to play all these middle of nowhere, countries.
Yeah, and I've seen that so much more from around the world, especially like India and parts of Africa, South America, where they're really starting to appreciate metal, and there's a lot of great underground metal bands that are coming from there. So if you guys ever get that opportunity, it'd be great to be able to get that some more exposure.
Oh, sure. I sing for Psychroptic live sometimes.
That's
a band
right.
From Tasmania, and they're I help them when I can and when they need it, because their singer can only do so many tours a year, and they're touring. They're doing like a 5-city run in India in August that they asked me to do that I had to turn down because I do Summer Slaughter. But I was so bummed. Like, I've been to India before. It's a wild place, and that's exactly the kind of stuff I want to do, because that's where you get the best stories. That's what makes it all worth it. Like, touring the States is great. I love playing for fans and everything like that, but you're in the States. You're speaking English. You're comfortable. You can go to Walmart if you want. It's all there. But you go to these bizarro world places. They're not bizarre in themselves. They're all beautiful countries, but it's bizarre for an American death metal band to go and perform there.
And speaking,
the experience will be something else for them.
Oh yeah, and speaking of that, somewhat kind of being out of your element, what's it like being able to do the live renditions with Psychroptic as compared to doing your own work with Origin?
Oh, it's a blast. It's so much fun. It's so much less stress involved. And like, I love the Psychroptic dudes. They're some of my best friends in the world. They're great dudes. And touring with them is a blast. Like, I dig their music. It's a different style because I don't lose my breath as much, and I don't get as sweaty on stage, but like, that's a good thing sometimes. And yeah, it's been great. I love every opportunity I get to go out and tour with them.
And getting back a little bit into the aforementioned headlining tour, which will be announced sometime soon, I would imagine, with bands and dates and everything. How is that for you to do like a full headlining set with Origin as compared to just doing a 30-minute onslaught for something like Summer Slaughter?
I mean, we all prefer doing a full set, obviously, because you get to express yourself fully through the song, like what you want to present exactly, through what songs you would choose to play. You're not constrained and have to be like, oh, we have to play the Mosh song and we have to play the Circle Pit song, that kind of shit. So it's nice to just be able to just do what you want. But I mean, like I said, the Summer Slaughter bit, nice to be done at 6:30. It sucks to go on stage at 12:30, which always will inevitably happen a couple times, because everybody's beat. You've just sat through 7 bands. You gotta, it's nice to keep everything fresh and everybody goes away happy and not like, oh, God damn it, I wanted to see them, but it's getting late,
Oh, yeah, and it always does help when you're doing a 30-minute set like that, well, you are able to, like, get sweating on stage and get that heart racing and everything. It's nice to know that you don't have another hour to worry about, and you are able to just get that 30 minutes done and be able to relax after that.
Oh, yeah, 30 minutes, we don't even feel 30 minutes anymore. 30 minutes is a blip. Like, that's not, like, John doesn't even get a full, he doesn't even feel warmed up behind the kit after 30 minutes. If I don't break a sweat on stage, I feel like I haven't done my job. I'm notoriously horribly sweaty, and sometimes you do 30 minutes, you don't even hit that point. Like, I want to be able to get off stage and wring my shirt out and have it fill at least half a glass of sweat, and then offer that sweat to some adoring fan, to somebody to pound it like a shot, which has happened at least 4 times, and there's video to prove it. It's disgusting.
Do you find that as like an honor that someone would want to do that?
No, I mean, you wouldn't be into death metal if you weren't some kind of maniac. And I guess there's varying levels of maniacs where I've done it before at the merch table the minute I got off stage on Summer Slaughter once. I think it was at Gas Monkey in Dallas. And, it was just kind of like a goof, took my sweaty shirt off, wrung it out into a cup, kind of was just like, hey, who wants one? I'll give you, like, a sticker or something. And you'd be surprised how hard I did not have to ask. Like, a very loose offer, and people were clamoring for it. Maniacs, it's great. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, absolutely. And it's great to see that loyal of a fan base. I mean, whether they're inebriated or not, a mental state or whatever, I mean, just knowing that someone would be willing to put themselves out there like that just because they dig your music, I mean, that's got to be a cool feeling.
Honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with us in particular. I think it's just this mentality of out-brutaling other people. I've seen it all over the world. I remember playing in Japan 10 years ago, maybe 11, something like that. And we went out to a dinner with like the other bands that played, and a lot of Japanese fans came with us. So we were at this huge dinner, and somehow it came up where everybody started trying to out-brutal each other. And like one guy ended up standing up and peeing in a glass and drinking it in front of everybody in this really nice restaurant with like normal people all over the place. And it's just, like I said, I don't think it has anything to do with us. I think that just in this lifestyle of being into this extreme music, you tend to be an extreme kind of person who doesn't give a fuck. Well, sure, I'll drink my own piss in public. Why not? Because you've got to stay brutal. It's the most important thing.
Oh, and I think that's a perfect note to end on. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about everything that you got going going on. And of course, the brand new album from Origin, which of course is available now through Nuclear Blast. And in 20 days, you guys start your North American run with Origin, followed by a hell of a lot of touring that'll be coming along with that. And it's great to see after all this time that you guys are able to still keep going and kicking this much ass after all this time, and things just getting bigger and better from here on out.
Honestly, we're just getting started, so we got plenty of, we're lifers. We'll be doing this until Paul Ryan dies or kills us. Like.
Oh, awesome. Well, before we wrap things up here, is there anything else you'd like to mention I haven't brought up yet?
I think that's about it. OriginOfficial.com, pick up the new album, Unparalleled Universe. Agonia Records if you're in Europe, or Nuclear Blast if you're in the States. There's plenty of cool bundles, cool stuff. IndieMerch.com has t-shirts if you're looking for them. And yeah, help us help you. The more you support us through buying our albums and shirts, the more we can keep coming out and touring for you and blasting your head off every night.